of Aquitaine to Nottingham for treasure goes, there to learn who are her friends and those who are her foes.
What is it, Sheriff?
The Queen Mother is in Nottinghamshire.
Eleanor? Where?
Fitzwalter Hall. You know, she's been traveling about the country collecting money for King Richard's crusade.
Weren't you given orders as to what to do if she did come here?
Yes, I was. That's just the trouble. I'm to see to it that that money does not leave England.
Sounds quite clear.
No, it's quite clear. I just don't relish the idea of a brush with Eleanor of Aquitaine.
Of a crusade are so much higher nowadays than they used to be. Richard wrote me about the prices he has to pay for armor. It's unbelievable. And I know what I'm talking about, because I marched on the Holy Land myself, you know.
My father told me. He said you led a brigade of women soldiers.
That was many years ago. I was Queen of France then. It was my second marriage made me Queen of England.
How did the women's brigade work out?
Oh, it was a disaster. The women were fine, but the men weren't ready for the idea. Bruno!
Your Majesty, His Worship the Sheriff of Nottingham requests an audience.
Is he here?
Yes, Mistress Marion.
Well, have him brought up.
I have already so ordered.
On whose authority?
It seemed unlikely that Your Majesty would decline to see him.
I see. Well, show him in. What's he doing here? He's supposed to be a friend of my son John's, isn't he?
I'm afraid so.
When you've had 9 children, stop. The 10th can be a frightful mistake.
I'll try to remember that. Shall I retire now?
No, child, stay. I want to find out what the sheriff is about, and I trust your judgment more than most. Except my dear Bruno's, of course.
His Excellency, my Lord Sheriff of Nottingham.
Your Majesty, Mistress Marion.
How did you know I was here?
Did you think that the most famous woman in Europe could travel without being noticed? Why, I've received letters from friends all over England reporting on your journey.
What sort of letters? From whom?
From men who have already given their gold to your collection. They know that I am not a poor man, and they think I might perhaps make a large contribution.
They do? I had not thought you had given them much reason to support such a belief.
Your Majesty has been in public life long enough to know that there is often a difference between political necessity and private opinion.
I have indeed.
Then may I be allowed to state my private opinion in concrete terms? A token of my devotion to King Richard and his great crusade.
This seems more than a token.
500 marks.
A handsome contribution. And I did not think to do too well in this shire. I'm glad I came here last.
It does not compare unfavorably, I trust, with contributions you've received in other parts of the country.
A handsome gift, my Lord Sheriff, and deeply appreciated. But if you think that entitles you to a record of all the other monies I have collected, you are quite mistaken.
I did not ask that, Your Majesty. However much money you are delivering to the ship, my only concern is to see that you get it there safely.
I travel with 20 brave knights.
It should be enough for protection on most routes. You're not going through Sherwood Forest, are you?
The itinerary is still under discussion. Have you a recommendation to make?
The shortest way to the coast is through Sherwood. But frankly, this Robin Hood is... well, he's...
Not to women, from what I've heard. Or to friends of King Richard.
What route do you suggest, my Lord Sheriff?
The Highgate Road, Your Majesty. You'd be much more in the open there, and for a good part of the time your path would be through land owned by Lord de Walden.
Would that be good?
I think the Lord Sheriff knows more about de Waldron than I do.
He is my friend, and I can assure you of his protection. As well as my own, of course, throughout Nottinghamshire.
Except in Sherwood Forest.
I did not bring that gold to Your Majesty to have it stolen by Robin Hood. I hope I can count upon your heeding my advice.
I would be ungrateful if I did not heed the advice of those who had proven their devotion to the king.
Thank you. May I have your Majesty's permission to retire?
I'll see you out.
There seem to be many attitudes towards this man, Robin Hood. If I were a few years younger,
Yes, Your Majesty.
I think he would interest me romantically. I should not rest until I'd seen him.
I don't think your spirit has changed at all since you were 18. Would you like to see him?
He's an outlaw, and I represent the crown.
That's true.
Besides, I think I've met enough adventurous characters for one life.
But I think you should meet this one.
That's the idea. Keep it down, close to the ground. The idea is not to give them anything to shoot at. Now, there's a target. Here, I'll show you again.
Like a snake.
That's it. Like a snake. Good evening, Friar. What brings you here? It's too late for dinner and too early for supper.
I have a message for you. Maid Marian wishes to see you.
What's happened? Is she in danger?
Don't be so hasty. I didn't say she was in danger.
Then one of her friends must need help. Where's my bow?
Wait. The danger may be rather different from what you imagine. Maid Marian wishes to see you alone after dark.
Well, I'd best make haste. Albert, fetch your razor.
Why? Someone needs surgery?
Now, it's for a shave, you fool. Robin is going wenching.
Robin? In those clothes?
Yes, you can't go courting dressed like that. Oh, no, I suppose I can't. That new surcoat and hose we took from Prince John's courier. Fetch him.
Oh, yes, and a bath.
You can't call her a lady without having a bath.
I'll get some water.
Vanity.
Here you are, Robin. Sit down. Oh. Yes, we'll make a prince of you. Oh, wait a minute. A comb. Yes, we need a comb. Have we got a comb? Robin, perhaps you'd like your bath first. Perhaps. I'll break it and pull it, you. Wait a minute. How do I look?
Must I say?
Be serious. Do I look presentable?
Oh, certainly you look presentable for a wild man of the woods.
Wouldn't he come?
I forced him.
I've no right to count on you.
You can always count on me.
No one must know of your visit here tonight.
Of course not.
Friar Tuck, may I ask you to stand at this door and see that no one enters?
It's a chilly night.
I'll warm you up again with a breakfast of pheasant and malmsey.
Oh.
Robin, how splendid you look tonight.
I thought it was more important to get here quickly than to bother dressing up.
Come on. Robin Hood of Sherwood Forest, Your Majesty.
They are telling many stories about you in London. The minstrels say that you are master of Sherwood Forest.
Then the minstrels are wrong, Your Majesty. The king is the master of Sherwood.
I simply keep order there in his absence.
And see that his deer don't grow too fat. I know. I'm thinking of making a journey through the forest. Do you think I would be safe?
Yes, Your Majesty.
Even if I were carrying a treasure of great value?
There is never a moment when Your Majesty is not carrying a treasure of great value.
That you didn't tell me about. The nicely phrased flattery. The Sheriff of Nottingham, who has contributed generously to my treasure, disagrees with you about my safety.
The Sheriff and I seem fated to disagree.
He feels that I should ride with my escort across the lands of Lord de Walden.
On second thoughts, the Sheriff and I are not so much at odds.
You think Her Majesty should go by the Sheriff's route?
No, but her escort should. And it should appear that the Queen and her treasure are with them.
Whilst I go through Sherwood alone.
Not alone, Your Majesty. I know the forest well.
Good. And if you have a servant you can absolutely trust.
I have. Bruno's devotion is one of my few remaining possessions.
Are you trying to tell us Queen Eleanor is trusting the outlaws to escort her through Sherwood with a fortune of gold?
But it's true. Robin Hood was in the Queen's presence only a few hours ago. She told me the whole plan.
It's incredible.
No, it isn't. He's telling the truth.
How do you know?
Because it's Eleanor of Aquitaine we're dealing with, and this plan is worthy of her shrewdness.
This means ruin to our plan.
But it provides us with a far better one. They'll be expecting an ambush on your estates. Now the trap will be sprung in the forest.
And the outlaws will be blamed for it.
I always said you were the loyalist of Prince John's informers.
Is to give the impression that I am traveling by that route. The instant you are attacked, I want you to withdraw.
Retreat, you mean?
No, withdraw. Disband. Disperse your forces. Call it what you like, but I don't want you to fight. There's nothing to fight for.
There's always honor.
Oh, yes, there's honor. But it's not worthwhile being hurt. Oh, Sir Giles. I can't afford to lose you. That's why you mustn't take risks.
It is your Majesty who is taking the risk. I have guarded you safely through the length and breadth of England. I don't like to think of you now on foot, in a forest, with only...
You can say it. I admit we don't look like a very powerful pair of protectors.
But we're not heading for a battle. We're trying to avoid one. Oh, Sir Giles. I've come through so many dangers in my life. You know that.
Aye, your Majesty, that I do.
And I would never have survived so long if I'd met every situation the same way. Sometimes I've had to make use of force. Sometimes of my sex, and sometimes of what craft I have in this old head of mine. Today calls for the crafty approach.
It's a question of not doing what the enemy expects you to do.
Exactly. That's no warrior's maxim, isn't it? And now, Sir Giles, I think it's time you left with your troop. We'll leave simultaneously by the postern gate. Now, are we ready, dear? Bruno? Bruno, are you with us or have you wandered off somewhere?
Your Majesty's pardon. I was just thinking of what lies ahead of us, in the forest.
See anything?
No, not yet.
They won't be here for several hours more.
I couldn't stand it. I'd starve to death.
Starve? Here comes a baker on the way into Nottingham. He's most probably got buns. Maybe cake, too.
Don't speak of such things.
Unless you mean we ought to do something about it.
Why not? We're outlaws, aren't we? We can take what we like.
Listen, the sheriff said he was giving us a big responsibility.
What have we got here? Honey buns? What have you got for a hungry outlaw?
All right, I'll find you something. Here, don't do that. I said I'd find you something. Hey, you're spilling my bread. Don't do that, or I won't give you anything at all. Stop it.
We're outlaws, you fool. You don't give us anything. We take it.
Keep your mouth shut if you don't want your throat slit. We're Robin Hood's men.
Here, catch.
See if he's got any money. Why? Let's see your purse. I will not. You've already ruined part of my...
Your purse, I said. Ah, here we are. Bullies! Scoundrels! Down!
There's somebody coming.
Come on, let's go. It's the prior.
Right.
What happened, friend? Were you attacked?
Yes, Father. By 4 men, dressed in Lincoln green.
Lincoln Green?
Yes, but they weren't part of Robin Hood's band. They said they were, but they weren't.
How do you know?
By this. By the whole way they treated me. They were pretending to be Robin's men. Why would anyone do that? Just to make people like me angry with the outlaws?
Perhaps. Or they may be here for something far more important.
I think you should spread Edgar's group out thinner in this area and send Hugh and his men on ahead in there. We have a long stretch of road to protect.
Your sentries aren't very wide awake today.
There aren't any. Every man in the band is patrolling Her Majesty's route, except me and my field commander here. Have they left the castle yet?
Unless something unforeseen has happened. But, Robin...
Let's have a courier pass the word to each captain.
Right.
And tell them there's a silver mark for every man if all goes well today.
Right. No, this is serious.
Now, every arrow and bowstring must be carefully inspected.
Will you kindly stop playing at soldiers for a minute and listen to something important? There are men dressed as outlaws lying in ambush on the hillside near Riven Oak, just before the crossroads where you have to meet Her Majesty.
Sheriff's men?
I think so.
I'll take care of that. I'll take some of the men out of the line further up.
No, we haven't time.
But you've got to get rid of them, Robin. They're lying in wait for Her Majesty, I tell you.
We'll get rid of them all right, but without using any of our own forces.
That'll be quite a trick.
I'm afraid it'll mean some more exercise for your feet and for your wits.
My wits are fresh enough, Robin, but my feet...
And you'll have to break one of your basic principles.
What's that?
And enter an alehouse.
Oh, well, for Her Majesty... Good day, gentlemen. It's always a pleasure to see the Royal Foresters at their duties.
We want no sermons here, Father. A man needs a drink once in a while for the good of his own soul.
True. Since you put it that way, make mine a beaker of Malmsey.
Oh.
I have a report to make to you, which I want you Foresters to act on immediately.
Indeed.
Thank you for the drink. I'll burn a candle for you when I get into more hallowed surroundings. Information has come to me about the outlaws of Sherwood.
Are you the friar they call Tuck?
Yes?
I hear a lot of information comes to you about the outlaws. More than seems reasonable.
Your mind is obviously befogged with drink, young man. There is a group of outlaws dressed in Lincoln green, in ambush by the forest road at Riven Oak.
How do you know?
I just came past there. I saw them.
Don't trust him, Craxton. Rumor has it he's thick with Robin Hood.
You really should drink less, young man. Much less. If you don't act on this immediately, Craxton, I'll take my information to the Sheriff of Nottingham. It's probably in his jurisdiction anyway.
It is not. Riven Oak's in the King's Forest. We're the law there. The only law.
Then why not enforce it before these outlaws waylay some passing innocent?
Come on, you. If the friar's right, we'll make a good haul this morning. There's £1 a head reward on every one of Robin Hood's men. Thank you, Father.
Have another beaker on the Royal Foresters.
Oh, thank you, my son.
They ought to have been along by now.
They'll be along. You getting nervous?
You must go no further, Your Majesty.
What's happened? We were to meet you at the crossroads.
You would never have reached the crossroads. Let me show you. The road looks innocent enough, but there's a group of armed men in ambush on that hillside.
I warned Your Majesty this was over perilous.
Armed men. Do you know who they are?
Well, they're wearing Lincoln green.
He's admitted it. The men in ambush are his own outlaws.
That's not exactly what I said.
What a strange accusation, Bruno. Why should Robin Hood warn us of an ambush by his own outlaws?
I don't know. I'm just concerned for Your Majesty's safety.
Where are your men, Robin?
Unfortunately, I stationed them the length of the forest road before I found out about the ambush.
Then Her Majesty is in danger.
I think not. I've taken certain steps to see that the ambushers are ambushed.
There's the crossroads. And there they are. They'll cut across over there. Get behind them.
Could an ambush be laid? Nobody knew of my decision to come through Sherwood except the four of us.
You seem to be more concerned with the gold than with Her Majesty's safety.
I was just going to hide it in the undergrowth.
Were you? I think it will be better with me.
I think it's clear now, Your Majesty, who has betrayed us.
She who has betrayed Your Majesty. They're in league. You should never have trusted the scheming little wench.
Judas, traitor! No, let him go. I know he deserves to die, but he's been with me a great many years.
The Royal Foresters have served us well. We can begin our journey.
Will Her Majesty be quite safe now, Robin?
Not far down the road, my cordon of men begins. From then on, the Queen will find the forest as safe as anywhere in England. We have a conveyance for Your Majesty, though I'm afraid a hay wagon is hardly a regal vehicle.
I'd ride a unicorn to get that gold to Dover. Do you remember I said I thought I might find him interesting romantically if I was still young enough?
I do.
How old are you?
Young enough.
Robin Hood was brought to you by Wild Root Cream Oil, the one and only largest selling hair tonic.
Robin Hood. He called the greatest archers to a tavern on the green. They vowed to help the people of the king. They handled all the trouble on the English country scene and still found plenty of time to sing. Robin Hood, riding through the glen. Robin Hood, with his band of men. Feared by the bad, loved by the good. Robin Hood, Robin Hood, Robin Hood.